Hi, my name is Alex Love, and I'm here with LCI. I have John Schryvers here. He's running for what office?
City Council at Large in Anacortes, Washington.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to run for the position.
My name is John Schryvers. I've lived in Anacortes for close to 20 years. I'm originally from Oak Harbor, so not far from here. I am the husband to an amazing woman. I have two awesome children, and I feel like the tax burden and rising property costs in our town are going to not make it to where my children won't be able to afford to live here. And I would like to see if I can get in and help tackle some of that problem so we don't turn into the next Seattle.
Explain to the viewers, because we're nationwide, um, exactly the size of Anacortes, and tell us a little bit about your community.
Anacortes is a small tourist, fishing, and minor marine industrial community. We have a nice boat yard here that employs close to 500 people. The population of our town is right around 16,000, 17,000, depending on the time of year. We have a lot of snowbirds, a lot of people that go to Arizona or Vegas or Southern California, Florida, what have you, during the wintertime. We have a lot of retired people here that have two addresses. They go one place in the wintertime, one place in the summertime when it's nicer back up here. We are what's known as the gateway to the San Juan Islands, so all the boating and fishing traffic comes directly through Anacortes to go out to the rest of the islands. We have a lot of restaurants, a lot of hotels to cater to our tourist community, and we also have a marine rope factory which employs 300 or 400 people. We have like I said, the shipyard that employs close to 500 people. And those are two of the top 5 employers in our county.
Wow. So it's a very small community. Seems like it's pretty tight-knit.
Very tight-knit. Everybody knows everybody. It didn't take very long for me to get to know most of the town, most of the businesses in town, most of the restaurants, most of the hotels, most of the people that run and operate the restaurants and hotels. And a lot of people that work here in our town can't afford to live in our town because the rent is so high. And the rent is so high directly related to the property costs and property taxes, which continue to rise at an astronomical rate. Property in Washington State increases on an average of, what I read, was 9 to 11% a year. Anacortes is closer to 14 to 17% a year, which is a huge jump. It may not sound like a lot, but it's a huge difference when your rent goes up 100, 150 bucks every single year. When I first moved to this town in March of 2000, I rented a little 2-bedroom apartment here in town, like right downtown, and it was $650 a month. And that was less than 20 years ago. That same apartment now rents for $1,250.
Whoa.
And there doesn't seem to be any sign of stopping, or even slowing down for that matter. And if we continue at this rate, the people who work here aren't going to be able to afford to live here anymore. And the town will fall on itself if there's no one to work here.
Exactly.
As it is right now, my family has a restaurant here on the island, and we employ 12 or 13 people year-round. We add a few more in the summertime when it gets busy. But of those 12 people that are here year-round, 5 of them commute more than half an hour to come work at our restaurant because they can't afford to live here in Anacortes, here on the island. My wife and I used to travel a lot. When we played poker, we'd travel up and down the West Coast. We went to Vegas and Oregon, everywhere. Lots of poker tournaments all over the place. And when you tell people that you're from Anacortes, they would laugh and say, "Oh, you're from Canafortes," and automatically assume that we had money because we lived in Anacortes, which is nowhere near the case.
Wow.
We're starting to get we have a developing homeless population. That there's more and more people here on the streets in our small little island town, and I honestly believe that's due to the cost of living increases in our island too. And I just think that we can do more for the people who live and work here than what we're doing right now.
Awesome. Yeah. I remember growing up, going to Anacortes a couple times, and that's really big to hear that there's homeless population there. It's kind of little bit on the sad side.
It really is. And you know, and I'm not saying that we have a lot. I'm not saying we have a problem like you know, downtown Seattle or any other community that's really struggling with their homeless populations right now. But the point is that there's more each year. And we get out and we get to know them, we get to meet them. There's a couple of guys that are really nice. There's a lady who's a really nice lady, and there's some people that just walk around and talk to themselves and do drugs. And so there's a lot of people in this community that are noticing that, but really don't know what to do about that.
Besides the cost of living and taxation, are there any other issues that you're trying to find solutions or solve?
Well, I honestly, not specifically. There's some road and sidewalk issues and maintenance and stuff like that that needs to be addressed sooner rather than later. People are falling and going to the hospital from our bad sidewalks. I mean, that's happened to my grandfather last year. Excuse me. That's happened to some. Thank you. That's happened to some friends' family of mine too. Our sidewalks are in such disarray that you can't walk on them at night without, you know, you need a flashlight to see where the raises and dips are in the sidewalks. A lot of our streets don't have curbs or sidewalks on them, and if we are calling ourselves a tourist community, we really need to work harder to cater to the tourists who are bringing revenue to our town. And streets with no sidewalks and no curbs where you can drive off into the ditch in town is not the way to cater to the local tourists here in town, not the way to cater to people who are bringing money to our town. We also spend a lot of money as a community. I went to a city council meeting 5 or 6 weeks, I guess it was probably closer to 2 months ago now, this one in particular, and it was the record shortest council meeting they've ever had. And I'm looking it up right now. I'm trying to figure out if it might be the record shortest council meeting in the history of city councils nationwide, but it was 12 minutes long. And in that 12 minutes, they managed to approve $130,000 in city spending. And you know what? I got to look at the things that were on that list of everything that they were spending the money on, and maybe every bit of it was necessary. Maybe every dime was something they needed to spend. But the fact that our council was just so nonchalant and cavalier about $130,000, and none of them even batted an eye, none of them even flinched at $130,000. Now, $130,000 is two incomes. That's two different people's incomes here in town, and that's not even talking. That's just talking normal working people. That's not talking into the upper echelons here in town. Anybody who makes a lot of money. That's more than my family of four made last year, and we have a family of four, and that's more money than we made in the entire year, and they approved that in 12 minutes.
Wow. That's really big, and yeah, I can see how a community might want to look at their city council and make sure that everyone's doing the right thing.
Right. We have one council member who's been on the council since 2006, and she's up for re-election this year also. It just seems like a long time to sit on the city council and continue to waste money. We have a lot of our council has only been on one term, and some of them have been on several terms. Most people on our council are actually good people, but they don't seem to have the family or the small business in mind. They keep seeing dollar signs from what they can collect and what they can spend is what I feel like. There's new houses going up all over the island, but you're not going to get into one for less than $500,000 or more. They're building these mansions when there's no place for the working class to actually live continuously. And we have lovely view property here where they would support that level of housing, but we also need to have some lower income housing too. Not necessarily even lower income, some affordable housing here in our community where the people who work here can afford to live. And so far we don't have that. There's no plans for that. And I would really like to implicate something like that in an affordable housing program to where people who work and serve the people who have these $1 million plus homes on our community can actually afford to live while they work here. So they don't have to commute 30, 40 minutes to get to a restaurant job or to get to a hotel job or to get to the Jiffy Lube job, or to get to any of the real work jobs here on our island, which are the boatyard. Our boatyard has close to 500 people working for it, and I would be willing to bet that less than half of them live on the island. People commute from off the island to come to the boatyard, and you can drive 25 minutes from here to any of our other smaller communities inside the county here in Skagit County, and rent my house for close to half of what it goes for here on the island. Like I said, rent is close to doubled in the last 20 years here on the island. We're out, in the outskirts of in Skagit County. It's risen a little bit, but not to the extent that it has here in Anacortes. It was originally my intention to leave the island. I was going to move just because we can't afford to live here.
Wow.
And a lot of people can't afford to live here. But then, I got to thinking a little bit, and I was thinking maybe I can, instead of just taking care of my family and getting out of here, I can do something for the people who are here if I get involved. And I'm really championing for those people, for the working class people. Like I've been in the restaurant business in this town for most of the time that I've lived here, close to 20 years. I've worked with various restaurants in our community, small restaurants. I've opened several. I've closed a couple. Most of the time, I've maintained my employment here at the family restaurant all at the same time too. So there's just a lot of things in we have a great community. Anacortes is an awesome town. It's a beautiful town. We have, it's a great place to live. You're 25 minutes from the mountains. We're on the water here. We're an hour and a half to downtown Seattle, an hour and a half to Vancouver. There's plenty to do socially, educationally. We've got lots of churches. There's plenty to do religiously. We've got a lot to offer here for the people who are still here. And I would really like to keep those people here. I don't want people to have to move to Oak Harbor or move to Mount Vernon or move to Bayview or Bow or Alger. Or, I have a lot of people who commute from all over Skagit County, even some from Island County, to come work at our restaurant. And the other restaurants in town, I've asked one of the Mexican restaurants in town, she employs 15 people and 6 of them live off the island. That's over a third of her staff commutes. So if they live off the island, they're commuting 40 minutes or more to get here, to come wait tables, to come wash dishes.
Wow. So, is there anything you would like to say for the viewers before we close?
I don't have a whole lot to offer to say to the viewers, other than if you see your community starting to slip, you see your community starting to get towards too affordable, too expensive for you to live here, or for your friends to live here. Your friends start moving away because they can't afford the rent. Get involved. Do something. That's what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to get involved. I'm trying to do something. If we start collecting less tax revenue and start spending less, let me back that up a second. If we start spending less of our tax revenue, then we'll need to collect less tax revenue. The less tax revenue we collect, the less we're going to have to, the less the impact is going to be on the homeowner. And the homeowner is only charging the rent that they can afford, that they can demand. The homeowner is only going to charge the rent that the property values allow them to. And if we can't get a grasp on our rising property costs, nobody's going to be able to afford to live in this community. And it's happening in Seattle. It's starting to happen here. And I see it happening in some communities in Snohomish County as well right now. It's getting to the point to where these lovely communities that people like to come and party at for the weekend or for the week or whatever are getting to the point to where the people who work here can't afford it. And it's happening. Oh, and it's not just happening here. You see your community starting to slip, get involved. Start going to council meetings and figure out why they're spending so much money. What are they spending all this money on? Do you really need to buy new trucks for your city every 3 years when you have a full-time auto shop? No. One of those two things can go. Do you keep employing the 6 or 8 people in the auto shop, or do you buy new trucks every 3 years? I personally would rather employ the people in the auto shop. We have a city auto shop here in our town, and they still buy new cars and trucks for the city between every 2 to 4 years. What's the point of having an auto shop, an auto maintenance facility, if you're going to buy new trucks every 2 to 4 years anyway? Things like that just seem to be almost common sense. It seems to be escaping some of our council and our city's legislature.
John Schryvers is running for City Council of Anacortes, position number 1.
5.
5? Okay. Yep. So he has a GoFundMe correct?
That is correct, sir. It is called Committee to Elect John Schryvers. You can find me on Facebook. I have a campaign Facebook page as well as the GoFundMe page. There's a link to my GoFundMe on the Facebook page. And yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you for your time.
It was a pleasure. Good to talk to you, Alex.